Mayor Juarez. Here. President McCarthy.
Here.
Council Butcher. Here. Council Newmiller.
Here.
Council Sutherland.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to close the meeting and open the public hearing at this time. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration for liquor transfer from D's Oregon Trail Bar, Inc. to Klaus W. Conrad Jr., DBA, the Oregon Trail Bar. This hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, Mills Council procedures, and other applicable laws. The hearing has been set and advertised in accordance with the statutes. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council on this issue to approach the lectern and state your name for the record. Do we have a report from staff on this item?
Yes, the Oregon Trail Bar is in compliance with the City and Wyoming Liquor Division.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this item? For a second time, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this item? And a third and final time, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this item? At this time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of this item? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of this item? And a third and final time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in opposition of this item? There being no one to speak for or against this item, I now declare the public hearing closed. At this time, we're going to reopen the regular council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. At this time, we are going to step into open discussion. I do ask that when you approach the lectern, you state your name for the record and be aware of the time clock on the wall there that says 5 minutes. If you've got documents that you'd like to share with the council, please hand it to our clerk. She'll give it to us. And please address council with any questions. At this time, is anyone wishing to speak in open discussion?
Yeah, I have something. My name is Harold Wall, W-A-H-L. I live over here on Midwest Avenue. And been having serious dog barking problems all summer long. And it's just way out of hand, way out of hand. We finally had to break down, call the cops Saturday night. Nobody ever showed. Called them Sunday again. They finally showed up and took care of it. I went up today to file a complaint, and the guy who takes care of that wasn't in, was supposed to call me, never called me back. But it's an ongoing deal, constantly. I've been out here 40 years now, and you can't even sit out in your backyard at night. And these dogs are barking all night long. There's no let up on them. These people are in the house, laying there sleeping or watching the tube, whatever they're doing. But it's just as irritating as it can get. And it's not a few, there's a lot of them. I'm on 522 Midwest, right behind me on Wasatch. There's 3 or 4 residents right behind me, loaded up with dogs. Right next to me, right across the street. And every one of them is loud, obnoxious barkers. And these people just let it go. You know, nobody will address the problem. Talk to them and, you know, get the finger, but something needs to be done about it. I've been out here 40 years, you know, and you can't even enjoy your own yard anymore. Tried getting with the cops for them to do something, and they did show up Sunday and quiet it down. And I don't even know how many dogs you can have in Mills.
I believe it's 5.
5 animals.
5 animals? Don't you think that's too many?
Well, that's 5 animals, including dogs, cats, everything else. You have 5 animals.
Well, 5 dogs is too many.
One barking dog's a nuisance, you know.
Can you change that? 5 dogs is too many for anybody to have in this small neighborhood. It's a kennel. right across the street from me, you
We
know.
can look into how many they do have as the current ordinance stands, and then we can look into what our noise ordinances are for after hours. I'm not familiar with, if we have a noise ordinance after hours.
Brian, what does it say after hours for dog barking?
It's just breach of peace.
So we don't have anything specifically that addresses barking dogs after hours, so we could look into that. Which I would agree, there should be some respect to after dark if there's noise.
Well, the bark all day, but it's worse at night, you know, when you can't hear your television. It's just like living in a kennel full of rabid dogs is what it is.
We'll get with our CSO also to check into how many they do have. And then I think as council, we can look into seeing if we can address the noise ordinance. Or we don't have one to create a noise ordinance. So we'll have to dive into that a little bit deeper. But in the meantime, we'll have people, the officers, put a little bit more emphasis on your area for a little while and see what we can do about that.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good. Scott Clam, 720 Wasatch. I know that it's about time for a lot of business license to be renewed. Have you ever thought about letting us buy 3 years, 5 years at a time instead of, I mean, it cuts your headache down and some of our headache down. And if we happen to leave before our 5 years, you got our money.
Well, business license is free.
What?
So,
No.
with that said, it's the fire inspection that's not free. So that's what they're paying for, and,
Well, we always had to pay for business licenses before we ever had fire inspections.
correct. And now, with this council, business licenses are free, it's the fire inspection you pay for. So that's where that has shifted with this council. Because we kind of feel the same way, we shouldn't have to pay for a business license. But if there's people that are running businesses that are fire hazards, then we need to keep
Well, and
our eyes on them.
And I understand, you know, when you don't have, and they've been real good with me in the past several years, but we don't have no foot traffic. We're not a retail store. We just own a shop, and that's where our stuff is. But as far as people coming in and out and we selling stuff to them, that don't happen. So I know that they allow your own inspections and you go and do all that, and I guess that's what's got to go. I mean, is there any way of stretching that from 1 to several years? And
I think because things tend to change within a year, our fire inspections need to be every year, so that way we can make sure that our public is safe.
We actually, it's kind of a whole can of worms. The second we think that it's just as easy as doing that, what we've done is allowed, we've referenced this earlier today, but allowed a lawn mowing company to store flammable fuels and mulch, and no one's checked on it in 3 years because they don't view that as flammable or hazardous, so it's kind of a whole basket of worms.
yeah, I know, and it does open up some argument on stuff when you can come into my shop, and like I said, they've always been great with me, so I have no complaints against the fire department or anybody that's ever looked at stuff. But I can't have more than 2 5-gallon cans of gas, but I can go over to a store that has a whole row of flammables there, and it's just sort of a double sword there.
Well, and I would say that with them though, they still have to abide by certain
Well,
standards.
and I understand you're looking out for the best of us, and I don't need my neighbor's stuff torching up and mine going because he is ignorant. So,
Yeah,
all right.
I appreciate it. We'll look into it though.
Yep.
Thanks, Scott.
So on the heels of that conversation, my name's Jim Sullivan, and I have an application for a new business, Wyoming Tree Service, and it's at the location of Sullivan Trucking out on 5585 Poison Spider. And when I dropped the application, she wanted me to pay $45, but I already have a fire inspection, a self-assessed fire inspection for that location. So it seemed like I was being asked to pay twice, so I said, well, I'll come to the council meeting and see what you say.
So our fire chief, I'm glad that this came up, not
Yeah.
for your purpose, but for ours, because it helped us to understand a little better some of the nuances of all this. And so he addressed the same thing that you feel is, you're exactly right, you shouldn't have to pay for it twice.
Right.
And so now that they're established under the same roof, it would just be one application, but the two businesses,
Right.
one self-assessment. So you're correct in how you feel, and I think that we agree, the fire chief agrees as well with that.
So then I can, if you approve the license, then there shouldn't be a fee with it on the new business license?
The self-assessment fee would only be one time.
But
Because
it's
it's the
already
same
paid for,
property.
it's already paid for, and it's active, it's current. I have a good
Correct. Yes.
inspection there.
Yeah, and that's what he said too, because you've already done it,
Right.
and nothing's changed with the tree business,
So-
and you're correct.
So when you, if you approve the new business, then I shouldn't have to pay a fee, I guess is what I, right?
In addition, right,
In
yeah,
addition.
to the new tree company, yeah.
Right.
You're correct.
Okay,
And that's how he said it too, is, yeah, you've already done it, it's just, yeah,
okay, great.
yeah.
That's all I have.
I really
just-
appreciate this because it helped us understand, again.
While I'm
some of
here, I
this.
request you approve my application for the new business.
I think we did,
Thank
but
you.
yeah, yes, thank you, thanks. Sarah, can you get with Raymond in the morning and make sure that's completed?
Yes.
Thank you.
So hi, my name is John Gudger, 827 Fossil Butte Street. So just on the heels of some of these other questions, and Mayor, I believe we had some correspondence too. Just wanted to ask if the city could, you know, on public record, if they could like simplify a couple of things in regards to the application process. I had a question and concern about home occupation permit, but apparently that is something that other municipalities are using and probably need to just look into Title 17 to see how that's described differently. I think business would be an established building or something. But on that application, I would just request that the city provide some clear documents attached to the application. For question number 12, have you read the home occupation regulations and agree to abide by these requirements? I have not, I can't find those. Some other people that I've talked to are complaining about that as well. So I would just ask that the city would provide an easy search link on the website to be able to find that and clarify that. There's also been some confusion about the process on whether there is a fee or not. I think from what I'm understanding for the home occupation permit, there's going to be an administrative fee of probably either $25 or $45, whatever the city does. We would just probably want that clear, as a clear separation from an inspection from a fire marshal. As I've talked to the local city fire marshal, the business I run doesn't really require one because I'm not open to the public. The other thing that I'm concerned about too is that if the city could talk to the front area, and I don't mean to criticize, I appreciate it, everybody's working hard, but I know that some other people have been concerned about some of the information that is inconsistent. I think some of the questions I've heard is, okay, so we are given a requirement to have a permit or a fee or an administrative fee for our services that we administer into the city. There's questions that, you know, if there are other business vendors like at the Summerfest or the arts at Freedom Park, do they abide by the same thing? That question has come up. So maybe they pay it by the payment of a booth for a fee with the city. I don't know, but that should be clarified in these requirements. Because there's some concern of unfair practices in regards to that.
John, can you explain more about the Summerfest and art vendor question? What do they mean?
I think because there's confusion about essentially them having to pay a fee,
Correct.
you know, and then even the requirements are not easily findable. They're seeing other vendors coming in on Summerfest or an arts festival. Do they pay or do they have to provide that same application to the city of Mills?
Yes, so what they do is they pay a fee. Every vendor has a fee that they have to pay to be at our festival.
A temporary vendor
And-
permit.
Yeah, application that they have, well, not application, it's just like a form that they have to fill out
Okay,
saying
all
what
right.
they're selling.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you all.
Temporary vendor permit.
Yeah, that's helpful. The other thing that I would ask is that until some of these things are clarified, one friend of mine has been threatened that they will be blacklisted on Facebook. I just don't think that's really appropriate until the city clarifies these requirements for
The
non-compliance.
blacklist, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but we identify the businesses, which is different than home occupancy, as being non-compliant with the fire inspections. We feel that the public deserves to know which business
That's
that you
fine.
can walk into has not either passed or fulfilled their fire
This
inspection.
person doesn't even, her business it doesn't even expire until next month. So why would she be threatened with that when she's
She's-
trying to find out information?
I'm sorry if anybody has made that statement to her, but right now, and I've spoken with her too, that we're trying to figure out where she falls in this category and try to better define this for her, because I don't feel that she's a business as what you're referring to.
Right.
She's a home occupancy, but
Right.
we're trying to clarify who needs a fire inspection and who
Sure.
doesn't, and we don't think that she does.
Okay, I would just ask that in the future, if you could just, educate those that talk to the public, that they shouldn't encourage or just say that they're going to put them on Facebook unless the information is presented to them on how they can deal with and adequately comply with the city requirements. That
So,
would be my request.
if you don't, I'm gonna say this on the record, everything up front is recorded on cameras, because I'm the type of person who, that if a claim's made, I can pull camera footage and hold that individual responsible. I
Okay.
would not ever encourage any of the staff here to say or make a claim of that sort. That's very serious, and I don't take
Okay.
it lightheartedly.
Okay.
So I do want you to know that we are also working with the front office to better equip them to help them ask the right questions so that they can get the right paperwork. Because that's where a lot of this spell was on in office.
Sure.
Their confusion was more on them than it was the residents. So all of this has really opened up a lot of stuff that we weren't aware would be such a grand issue. But
Okay.
we're really trying to work through it.
No, and I appreciate
yeah.
it. That's why I'm bringing it up. Just
Yeah.
ask that y'all would do that and then kindly refrain from threatening or put them on a non-compliance if they're trying to comply.
Oh, I would agree with that, yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Is there anybody else for open discussion?
So I'm gonna move to ordinance 816, third and final reading, ordinance regarding interference with emergency calls or emergency reporting system.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance 816 on the third and final reading.
Second.
Is there any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Ordinance 817, third and final reading, ordinance regarding criminal entry.
I move that we approve ordinance 817 for third and final readings.
Second.
Any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Resolution number 2024-30, a resolution setting municipal salaries.
I make a motion we approve resolution number 2024-30.
Second.
Any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Resolution number 2024-31, health savings account signatories.
I move that we approve resolution number 2024-31.
Second.
Any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Resolution number 2024-32, home business occupation permit fees.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-32.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
And we did agree to move this to $45, is that correct?
And is it reflected in that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. All right, how does council vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Council approvals of Bayou Liquors catering permit number 7, 8/17 of 24.
Make a motion to approve the Bayou catering permit.
Second.
Is there any discussion? How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. And we have some new business. Pat Sweeney would like to speak on the senior citizens mill levy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So I just turn over for a brief presentation to Amy, the Director of the Senior Center, and if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, thank you for this time. I just want to address the proposed Natrona County Senior Citizen Service District. This will be on the primary ballot next week on the 20th for choosing whether to establish or not, yes or no. The reason that we are looking to establish this district is to have sustainable funding for the senior services in Natrona County. As it sits right now with expenses and income grants, those kind of things going down, expenses going up, they're not sustainable. Been living on reserves for roughly 6 years. And I'm speaking for the Senior Center in Casper, which would include the Senior Center here in Mills and the Senior Center in Evansville. It's not sustainable. In reserves, there is possibly another year left. A senior district has been an option since 1997, and when it became state statute. There are currently 9 in the state, and there will be more. Many are looking at them. I've had many phone calls from other counties on boards of directors of the senior centers in Mills on Wheels with questions on how to proceed with establishing a senior district. It's unfortunate this wasn't done 20 years ago, but can't look back, we can only look forward. Should this be established next week, and it is, if approved, in the general election, there will be 5 board of trustees elected who will oversee the district. They will make the decisions for the district. These will be elected from the public. Anybody can run for these positions. It goes without saying there won't be anybody from any of the agencies that this could benefit, which at this time that we're aware of is the Senior Center, Mills on Wheels, and Wyoming Senior Citizens. According to state statute, there may be other agencies that would qualify, as well as looking down the road at possible some housing for seniors. But it's just very important that we take care of our seniors because if something were to happen, that if we had to cease our services, we're going to force premature institutionalization, which Casper doesn't have the beds for, number one. Number two, it comes back on us as taxpayers.
You're okay.
Okay. Comes back to us as taxpayers, as many of those folks will be on Medicaid to even be able to get into, on the Medicaid waiver, community choice, to even be able to get into some services such as a nursing home. And any questions? I kept that brief.
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
you.
I think that's all of it tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
How does council vote?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.